She stared at a now charred painting on the hallway wall opposite of her bedroom door. The bright-colored flowers that her mother painted as a teenager, always greeting her day with colorful joy, was now a hateful brown and black. The hallway was alive and angry with fire, flickering shadows in orange. Flames crawled along the walls, devouring everything they touched. The house groaned, as if it was something just coming to the world of the living and dying all at once. Hell was visiting her family, her home. "Ma!" Layla screamed again, stepping into it. She could not enter the hallway. The fire was too intense. There was a high-pitched scream, followed by another. Her brother.
"It's the Ryan P. Maillet Show!"
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ryan P. Maillet Show. I'm your host, Ryan P. Maillet, and I have Julie back with us, co-hosting.
Guys, it's great to be back.
So we didn't scare you off too much last week.
No, didn't scare me at all. So I had a lot of fun.
So this podcast is going to be pretty heavy on book news. We're going to take a break from talking about school bus safety for just this episode.
Oh, man.
I think it's going to be a great episode.
I think so, too.
So stand by till the end of the episode. Julie is going to be reading the prologue to my upcoming novel. So we're very excited about that.
Yes, I'll be reading the prologue. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be really exciting to just give you a taste of the upcoming book.
This podcast is brought to you by my new book, The Safe School Bus Ride, a guide for parents and children. This is a children's book in rhyme with fun images that also has talking points for parents and educators to stop and discuss school bus safety topics with kids. So pick up a copy today. The link is in the show notes. This episode is also brought to you by Evolve Property Management. If you have a short-term property listed on Airbnb or VRBO, Evolve can help you maximize the earning potential and guest experience. My wife and I both use Evolve for our vacation rental, and it's really been a game changer. Today, I wanted to talk about the dynamic pricing feature.
An important feature with Evolve is, like you said, Ryan, the dynamic pricing that's available. I think that's been really wonderful. So basically with the pricing, we don't have a set price throughout the year, different seasons. We're able to either increase or reduce our pricing. So we can kind of just go based upon the demand. And then if it's a slower time of year, maybe we're going to drop down the price a little bit to a better potential of people coming in with a lower price as a little bit more of an incentive. And then for the holiday season, we tend to increase it just a little bit. So I think having that dynamic pricing is really important. So we're not stuck in a specific rate.
Yeah, and Evolve actually will do an evaluation for rentals in the area to make sure that we're competitive and are appropriately priced.
Right.
And also they'll take into account if there's a festival in the area or if local events, they'll increase pricing to adjust for things like that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's great because you're working with them and they're able to do that search for you, getting more information of pricing in the area. So you're not alone in that process at all, which is really helpful.
Yeah, they've been great. Use the link in the show notes to learn more and receive a $200 management credit. So on the agenda today, I wanted to just go over a few notes, and then we're going to have a book discussion about Walking With You, which is the other children's book that I wrote that we don't talk about quite as much. And then we're going to have a discussion about the Peter Marlow book that's coming up. And then, like we said before, we're going to wrap up the podcast with a reading of the prologue for Peter Marlow by Julie.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
I am too. It should be great. It's a short chapter, but I think people will enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't give anything away, though.
So first, I just wanted to make a correction. Last week when I was discussing using the two-way radio and for the student to contact the dispatcher in an emergency situation, I said 991 instead of 911. Just to get a little background, our rental property that we were talking about with Evolve has the address of 991. So Julie and I tend to say that accidentally sometimes when we mean 911. If that comes up in the future, I apologize. I try to catch it in editing, but I didn't catch it that time. So sometimes we accidentally say 991 instead of 911.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming more and more of an issue, I will say. I'm hoping if I ever had to call 911, I'd actually dial 911 and not 991.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't work out.
No, I wouldn't get an answer.
No, but we say 991 conversationally throughout the day pretty frequently. So so when we say 911, we just have to think about what we're saying. Also, I wanted to mention during the previous episode, when a student does evacuate a bus, they should not take their belongings. This is something that's done in a hurry. So there's a sense of urgency. It's just really about the child getting off the bus quickly. And it's not about trying to find your books and your backpack and get all your stuff in your backpack if you took it out. It's just a matter of getting out of the bus. So
Right.
personal belongings should be left on the bus if there is a sense of urgency to get off the bus. And this will come up again in the future, but I meant to bring that up last episode and I missed that.
Yeah, most important thing is yourself. Everything else can be replaced in time, so it's not important to bring it.
Yeah, definitely. We also have some exciting news. Walking with You and the Safe School Bus Ride are both available through Barnes & Noble now. Barnes & Noble will be selling a softcover edition as well as a hardcover edition.
So excited about the hardcover edition. I feel like I would much rather have a hardcover than a soft cover, so I think that's a huge announcement, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited too. I think personally going to have the hardcover editions at home. So the hardcover and softcover edition will be through Barnes & Noble, and softcover and Kindle will be available through Amazon.
Great, that's awesome.
For any bulk purchases, you can contact me directly. You wouldn't have to go through Barnes & Noble or Amazon. So I did want to make a note. We really need your help for reviews. If we can ask for 2 minutes of your time to leave a review, either for a podcast or if you bought a book, if you can give us a book review. For both books and the podcast, reviews are really the oil that keep the engine going. So if you wanted to show your support and give us a review, that would be incredibly appreciated.
Yeah, we really appreciate all the reviews, especially just getting started. And of course, we want to know your thoughts on the book. But I just want to make a point in regards to the algorithm. In order for a book to really be taken seriously, and even a podcast, it takes about 100 reviews. So that's why reviews are so incredibly important. We're trying to really push for that at this time. If you could spend those 2 minutes and write a review for us, we'd be so grateful.
So we're going to start a raffle now that we have the hardcover book editions. If you leave a review for either book through Barnes & Noble or Amazon or on Goodreads, or if you review the podcast on any podcast platform, you'll be entered for a drawing for a hardcover edition of either The Safe School Bus Ride or Walking with You. It'll be your choice. And that'll be a signed hardcover book.
So all they have to do is just leave one review and they'll be entered into that raffle.
Yeah. So if you leave a review of a book or the podcast, you'll be entered into a raffle drawing. If you leave multiple reviews on multiple podcast platforms, or if you purchase a couple books and you leave 2 reviews, then that'll be multiple entries for you.
That's great. Yeah. And they get to choose which one they would want, which hardcover book.
Yes. For the podcast platforms, I'm going to monitor Spotify, YouTube, and Apple iTunes. If you leave a review on any other podcast platform, just screenshot that review and you can either email it to me or message us at Facebook or Instagram, just so we know that's there. I won't necessarily be able to see it. All the social media links are Ryan P. Maillet Books, and you can reach us by email at ryanpmillettbooks@gmail.com. You can also find those links in the link tree in the show notes.
Yeah, and we don't want a review to get lost. We want you guys to get that entry in if you're putting in that review. So definitely just reach out so we're aware that you put that in and we can get you entered into that raffle.
Yeah, so again, I'll monitor iTunes, YouTube, and Spotify. I'll also be monitoring book reviews on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Goodreads. Yeah, if you want a free signed book, leave us a review. You'll be into that raffle to win one. And we'll do that once a month.
If you guys know a parent that puts their kid on a bus every single day, share this podcast with them. We want that parent to be confident and that child to be safe when getting on and off the school bus.
Well, thank you, Julie.
Absolutely.
Thought that was my line.
Do you mind if I take it?
I guess you can borrow it.
Oh, thanks. You should have said absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. So next we're going to be talking about a book that Ryan wrote. It is called Walking with You, a book of a dad's advice to his son. So Ryan, do you want to give a little bit of an introduction on your book?
Sure. I wrote this book specifically for our son, Henry. It's just advice that I wanted to give him as he grows up as a young child. It's just about going through life lessons about courage and kindness and leadership and friendship. And it's in rhyme and it's illustrated. And it's just a fun book for kids 4 through 8 to provide them some guidance as they figure out things as a child.
Yeah. As you mentioned, it's a beautifully illustrated book. and perfect for bedtime stories. But as a child grows, there's some lessons in there, such as being with friends and different challenges that might come up, even in a child's life. So it just allows for that introduction of conversations to take place between a father and son, and even just a family dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. And all the illustrations in the book are of Henry, myself, and Julie. I wrote this specifically for Henry, so it's a little focused on him.
Yeah, definitely a special book to have between our family, but it's absolutely relatable for any family with a young boy. Even if they have a little girl too, there's parts in it that can apply as well.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'll just make note that Walking with You is one of the books that you guys can select for our monthly raffle for putting in that review. So if you guys wanted this in a hardcover form, then that's one of the options you can select.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a signed hardcover form.
Yes, by yours truly, Mr. Ryan P. Maillet.
Yes.
Ever feel like managing a vacation rental is like juggling flaming swords while riding a unicycle? Say hello to Evolve, Proven Profits. Less pressure, more cash flow for your vacation rental. With AI-powered dynamic pricing and human touch, $10,000 damage protection and $1 million liability insurance, and dedicated performance advisor. Increased listing exposure. Perfect for anyone who's tired of rental chaos. Use the link in show notes for a $200 management credit.
School buses are built to be 70 times safer than a car when involved in a vehicle accident. But when our children are boarding and exiting the bus, it's often the most dangerous part of their day. Children and parents are often not as aware of risks and safety rules of a school bus as they should be. Do you or your child know where the blind spots of a bus are? Or where you should walk to be seen by the bus driver? Or what do in a school bus emergency? Or how to safely cross the street in front of a school bus? A safe school bus ride was written to give both parents and students a knowledge to build safe habits around their school bus. Let's keep these kids safe. Pick up your copy today.
It's the Ryan P. Maillet Show. Let's go!
So next we're going to talk about the book Peter Marlow. I told you a little background on how that came about, but I thought we'd talk quickly about the story itself without giving any plot points away. What's my upcoming novel?
So Ryan, for the Peter Marlow story, what time frame does this story take place?
Well, the prologue takes place in the 1850s, and the novel continues through the 1850s, 1860s, and 1870s. So it takes place during the mid 1800s, which is a fun time to write about. It's definitely a very, very simple time.
Yeah, very different from what we're living today. Did you have to do any research for this time of just kind of familiarizing yourself with how people lived then?
I did, actually. I did quite a lot of research of just how people lived. And also, this takes place during the American Civil War. So I've been researching the Civil War quite a bit. It was a very different time in our history and a very different war. In my interpretation of this story, is really about a man that is dealing with PTSD when PTSD was very much not understood back in the 1800s. That really wasn't understood until recently. So you have a man that's very traumatized, trying to cope with hard life. So PTSD and mental health is a big part of this story at a time when people just really didn't understand those topics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this takes place on a farm, and I'm not a farmer. So there's definitely a lot of research, just the background of the Peter Marlow story.
Yeah, because it all kind of stemmed from this camp story that you heard during camp when you were younger, and you're just adding to it with a background and adding on characters, right?
Yeah, so it started out as a story that I heard around a campfire when I was about 10 years old. And the original story probably takes place, well, it's not specified in the campfire story, but the events that we'll be discussing in my version of the book will be taking place in the 1870s. So I really did flesh out a good 20 years prior to the start of the original story, and also just expanding upon the original story that was told. Because the original story is really a 10 or 15 minute campfire story. And I think it deserves a more fleshed out telling.
Yeah, definitely. In regards to the history of it, you'd have to do a lot of research of just finding out how they lived back then. Knowing you personally, you're a history guy, so I'm sure, has that been fun to do? Have you enjoyed that process?
I've really enjoyed it. It's given me an excuse to really jump in. It has been a lot of fun just to research this time. And this story takes place in Vermont. So I did research a lot of history of Vermont, which has been interesting too. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I will say that as a child, this is told as a scary campfire story. In the expanded version of this, I wouldn't categorize it as a horror story. It's more of a historical fiction. And I think during that time period, they lived a lot harder than we do now. And things happened. So it's a telling of the man Peter Marlow and his family that surrounds him, and just life events that are happening to him in a harder world that people dealt with different challenges 150 years ago.
Right. Compared to the time that we live in today, it's much harder times back then. I think there's a lot of points in present time where we feel like we have it hard compared to 150 years ago. It was not the case. We have it pretty easy compared to back then.
Oh, definitely. You have to think back then, indoor plumbing and indoor bathrooms wasn't really a thing. Julie, you and I are raising an infant right now, Henry, and diapers is such a big part of the day. Back in the 1800s, you would have cloth diapers and you would boil them, and then you would hang them up on a line wet to dry. In the wintertime, you'd have to pull them off the line and snap the water off. And then you would reuse that cloth. Cloth was precious. You would have a Sunday dress and you would go to church the entire day. Then you would have a home dress that you would wear the other 6 days of the week. And it's likely that the curtains of the house match that dress. Everything would be reused and patched. It wasn't even uncommon to find young boys wearing a small dress just because cloth was so precious and they grow so quickly. It's hard to adjust pants every few months. It was definitely a fun world to explore.
Wow, that's really interesting to know. I can't imagine going outside to pick up some cloth diapers and wringing them out in the wintertime. Definitely happy that that's not what we have to do today. As for Henry, I'm pretty sure he's probably happy that he doesn't have to be wearing dresses every day. I do remember hearing that back then cloth was pretty precious and that you would wear your Sunday best, and then for the rest of the week, you'd have an outfit or so. But I didn't know all that information before. It's a good thing that you're a history buff and into that. That's not really my specialty. I'm glad you've been having a good time researching and getting to know that time period.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I also want to note that this story came from Camp Wayaka. We're going to be giving 30% of all revenue from this book back to the camp to help support kids that can't afford to go to the camp. Well, thank you, Julie, for joining me, and thank you all for listening to the Ryan P. Maillet Show. If you are a bus driver and have a safety-related story, I'd love to read it. Please contact me. You can email me at ryanpmillettbooks@gmail.com. Also, if you know a teacher, a school bus driver, a camp counselor, or anyone that works with children as a profession and has done something very cool or has been exceptional, I'd love to highlight that on the show and talking about really amazing bus drivers and teachers and camp counselors. So email me those stories as well at ryanpmillettbooks@gmail.com. Please leave a review for the podcast. You could win a signed hardcover book. If you know someone that could benefit from this episode, please give it a share. Stay tuned to the end of the episode. Julie's going to read the prologue to Peter Marlow. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening in today to the Ryan P. Maillet Show. Come what may. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the vibe. We'll see you next time. Hope you're doing well. Until then, farewell.
Now for a reading of the Peter Marlow Prologue by Ryan P. Maillet. Prologue, The Fire. Summer, 1856. Layla Callahan woke coughing and disoriented, unaware if she was in a sleeping or waking nightmare. The heat pressed against her face, thick and suffocating. The air already felt wrong in her lungs. Smoke curled along the ceiling in slow black fingers. The first thing she heard was sharp cracking, like a fire of their wood stove, but with a defining roar Then the sound of wood splitting that just couldn't hold on any longer. "Ma?" she called between coughs, her voice small, confused. There was no answer. Then a scream. It was her mother. Layla shot upright and bolted out of bed. The door to her room glowed at the edges, thin lines of orange bleeding through the cracks. The handle burned when she grabbed it, and she yanked her hand back with a cry. "Ma?" she shouted. "Pa?" There was another crash, from below this time. The sound of something collapsing. "Layla, run!" her father's voice. Not from the hall, from the stairs. It was distant, strained. Layla didn't think. She grabbed her shawl, wrapped it over her mouth, the way her grandfather had once told her to do if smoke ever came. She never thought it would matter. Not really. And kicked the door. Once. Twice. The third time it gave. Heat slammed into her as if the hallway exhaled. She stared at a now charred painting on the hallway wall opposite of her bedroom door. The bright-colored flowers that her mother painted as a teenager, always greeting her with colorful joy, was now a hateful brown and black. The hallway was alive and angry with fire, flickering shadows in orange. Flames crawled along the walls, devouring everything they touched. The house groaned, as if it was something just coming to the world of the living and dying all at once. Hell was visiting her family, her home. "Ma?" Layla screamed again, stepping into it. She could not enter the hallway. The fire was too intense. There was a high-pitched scream followed by another. It was her brother, Wesley. "Dear Lord, don't let this be happening." "Layla?" Wesley cried. "Pa?" She tried to reach him, but the fire surged, roaring, a living wall that pushed her back. "Wesley, where are you, boy?" Her father's voice again, hoarse, breaking. "Layla, go! Go, Layla!" "I can't," she sobbed. "I can't leave." The hallway floor beneath her feet shifted. The house gave a terrible, splintering groan. And in that moment, something in Layla understood. She couldn't get to her family. Her father, her mother, dear Wesley. If she stayed, she would die with them. Layla turned and ran back through her bedroom. Flames and smoke billowed in through the now open bedroom door. She crawled out through her bedroom window and onto the porch roof. She slid down the roof of the porch. She rolled off the porch landing, half in a bush and half the front lawn. A thought quickly entered. Would Pa be angry with me for damaging one of his hedges? She then thought that her right wrist hurt. She got up using her feet and left arm, then ran until her legs collapsed. She stumbled into the yard, coughing, gasping, falling hard onto her hands in the rear sheep grazing field as the cold mud met her skin. She laid on the wet grass, cheek pressed to the earth, lungs breathing in and coughing out. The hard rain felt like hands on her, patting, scolding, trying to wash her clean. Her nightdress clung, heavy and cold where it wasn't scorched through. For a moment, she had the crazy thought that if she just lay still enough, the night would rewind itself. The fire would climb back into the ground. Her father would be snoring down the hall. Behind her, the farmhouse burned. Angry flames tore through the roof, reaching skyward, bright against the dark. The lightning came again, distant now, shortly followed by raging thunder, like the very sky was angry at her escape. Layla turned back. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no!" After a few moments, she tried to stand, but slipped in the mud. She tried again, stumbling. "I just have to do something," she thought. She tried to run back, but she couldn't get close to the house, her home. The heat was too intense. The door collapsed inward. The window shattered. The remaining walls and roof fell inward, collapsing in on itself. Layla stood in their yard and just cried. It could have been minutes or hours. Someone was shouting her name. Far off, from the road. "Layla?" She didn't answer. "Layla!" She couldn't answer. She sat there in the dirt, watching everything she had ever known turn to ash. Her pa, Ma, and Wesley burned and gone, and the only home she ever knew. There was nothing. By morning, the house was a smoking pile of blackened lumber. Peter and John Marlow found her sitting at the edge of it. She was still, silent, eyes fixed on what wasn't there anymore. Later, people in town would say it was a miracle she survived. They would talk about God's grace and mysterious ways, and how he sometimes spared one lamb from the flock. Layla would nod, because that was what they wanted, but in her heart she would know the truth. God had not spared her. The devil himself had come and destroyed her from the inside, then discarded her and forgotten her into insignificance. Like a forceful wind just passing through gives no thought about a once majestic tree that it left fallen on the forest floor.